like to call to order the meeting of the Governance, Administration, and Operations Committee. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. All right, first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay. The motion carries unanimously. Let's see, item number, is there any public comment on the agenda items? We have 3 minutes per speaker. Is anyone signed up to speak? No? Anyone from the public wish to speak? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to committee action items. The first is item A. I believe, I don't see Ruthie in the audience, but it is to authorize the CEO to execute an easement agreement between HART. Oh,
Jim Fetzer.
we have Jim Fetzer here. Okay, I'm going to let Jim detail this. Thank you, Jim.
Good morning, Jim Fetzer, Director of Maintenance. We're seeking board authorization to execute an easement agreement between HART, Pasco County, Pasco Pinellas, Hillsborough Community Health Systems for the provision of the shared park and ride lot. The new lot will be located at Florida Hospital, Wesley Chapel, and will be constructed by Pasco, Pinellas, Hillsborough Community Health System. The agreement provides for shared use and maintenance of the park and ride lot. The construction of the park and ride lot will allow HART to close down 2 existing park and ride lots or consolidate them into one and save the authority $24,000 a year. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions?
What will be done with the 2 that are being closed?
I'm going to call Justin up here for details.
Good morning. Justin Begley, Park Planning staff. There are 2 park and rides currently, one in the just north of the Hillsborough County line and just south. We currently lease those, and we pay $1,000 a month. So those sites will revert. They're currently owned by the property owners, which are churches, and they will be released from those lease payments, and they'll just go back to normal operations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, I just want to definitely commend staff and everyone on a great job on the savings. So, Eddie,
what are we going to be doing to notify our patrons that this is going to be happening?
So we'll notice. Thankfully, with those lots, they only have a single route that serve them. So it's almost as a community of riders who use those sites. And we will notice both at the site and on the vehicles, on the buses, and with plenty of notice before that change is made, so people have an opportunity to hopefully use the new site. Is really what we want to gear everybody towards redirection to the other new park and ride.
Thank you.
But when's this coming operational? When's it coming online? So what's the construction time, the transition time?
The expectation is from the time the agreements get executed, it would be about 6 months, which would put us hopefully before the end of this calendar year. And at that time, we also plan to bring online the New Tampa Flex route, which is a local service that will also use the park and ride. So not only are we consolidating the 2 park and rides and saving that money every month, we also, hopefully as a result, have improved the service there with additional service to the new park and ride, as well as local trips and express trips to downtown.
Quick question, Justin. Are the 2 that are being consolidated, are all 3 located in the Wiregrass DRI?
The 2 existing sites are not within Wiregrass. One is off County Line Road, a little bit east off of Bruceby Down. So if you were to go near that site, we were just talking about it. It's a little bit out of the way. The bus actually has to deviate there. There's a cost associated with going so far off site. And there's also a cost of time to riders because we have heard that that's a bit inconvenient for those coming farther north to have to go off the route, hit that park and ride, come back on route, take people to downtown. So we think ultimately there's going to be more satisfaction from the riders through the consolidation here. The other site is in Pasco County, and again, it's well away from Wiregrass.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, I know we've had a kind of a very much a focus on public-private on private partnerships. Not that this counts as one, but it sounds like there was at least possibly some outreach with Wiregrass, which is a private entity. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. This has been ongoing. We've been working with them many years now on development of this site.
Oh, great.
And we're actually very excited to finally see that we've gotten to this point where everybody can agree on the site, on the size, on the maintenance agreements, and we're going to be operating it by the end of the year. So this is good news.
Thank you. One more.
You brought up the new Tampa Flex route. So when will that be coming to fruition as well? Same time?
The expectation, we're looking at November right now, but we're going to be cutting a little close on that because we do need some additional vehicles to operate that service. So what we'd ideally like to do is move the park and ride, consolidate the two park and rides to the new one. At the same time, we launch a new service, and that's all scheduled for November of this year.
When will we be getting some details as to the actual route of the new Tampa Flex route?
We have that now. I mean, we have it's basically a route that's going to originate from around the Wiregrass area, and it's going to take Bruceby Downs all the way down to the USF University area with local stops. So right now, the new Tampa, we call it Flex, it will deviate a bit off that route and collect and serve the new Tampa area, which has been asking for service and is really ready as a community up there to get that service. They've been looking forward to that.
Thank you, sir.
We can include that map in the CEO Weekly, so we'll get that out to you this week.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. All right, with that, so we have the recommendation is there a motion on the floor to move this?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Item B. Again, I believe Jim may be available to speak on this one as well.
We're seeking board authorization to award a contract to Aussie Construction of Tampa for modifications to the HART heavy maintenance facility bus wash bays in an amount not to exceed $255,530. Work will include the complete removal and replacement of the failing concrete slabs within the bus wash, installation of new actuators on the bus wash brushes to allow for the cleaning of the front and back of the buses, and also installation of new guardrail entrances to allow for easy entry into the wash bays. Staff's available to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Yeah, a couple questions actually. So, is this bus wash? Is it capable of doing all of our different vehicle sizes?
It is, and the modifications will allow to become more flexible. It will allow the brushes to adjust for each vehicle.
And do we have any considerations in there for reuse of water or from a sustainable standpoint at this point? Just out of curiosity.
You're going to have Linda come up here from project management.
Hi, good morning, Linda Costantini, project manager. Yes, this is not the actual bus wash system. This is the replacement of the concrete slabs that have failed over the years. So the existing system does have a reclaim and an oil water separator to it, and we are using that currently, and it would remain intact.
Terrific. Thank you.
So this is just limited to concrete replacement?
Correct.
Okay.
We have concrete failure out there, so we're replacing both the slabs for replacement.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Jim. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. So moved. Second? Second. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Nay? All right. Motion carries unanimously to advance to the June 6th board meeting. Item C. We have, I believe, our CFO, Jeffrey Seward. Looks like Linda's going to come and speak to item C.
Okay. Item C, we're asking for board authorization to award a contract for the 21st Avenue Stormwater System Assessment and Design to Peroni and Associates for $213,132 plus a contingency for a not to exceed amount of $234,445. This project is because over the years the heavy maintenance facility has experienced chronic flooding, and the intent of this project is to hire a professional engineer to determine the cause of the flooding and provide design solutions.
Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay.
A board member out there.
Those are more effective than mine.
Go ahead, Linda. Sorry. Anything else?
Okay. No, it's basically the engineer of record will look at this project in a couple of different phases. Good morning. How are you?
Okay, so this went through our procurement process, and we're just voting to approve the selected
Absolutely.
consultant. Okay. Any questions?
What's the timeline again? Sorry.
We're breaking this into phases. The initial phase is the investigation, which is basically the videotaping of all of our existing stormwater pipes. Once we have that complete analysis done, we will look at our cost estimates, what the immediate repairs are, and then we would go into design. So depending on whether we're going to have a two-phase where we can take care of the immediate issues and then look at long-term design, but the design itself would probably be about 12 months.
Yeah, Mr. Bowden.
I understand that the Department of Transportation, when they redid the interstate, has caused a lot of that flooding. We're working in conjunction with them to make sure that we have a long-term solution.
Absolutely, and we heard the same thing. What we're working with, our engineer of record is also working on the 43rd Street outfall, which is a City of Tampa project. There's a combination of effort with Swift Mud, City of Tampa, and we will present those findings to DOT once we have our analysis complete.
Okay, so this is really part of a larger, there's a separate kind of larger effort going on as well.
Correct, for the whole area. I don't know if you're familiar with the 43rd Street outfall project, but the city is undertaking that to alleviate some of the flooding for the existing neighborhood.
Okay.
One other question. Looking at all the things that has to be done, once we do this project, will it be in conjunction with all the other, will we do this project and when the city and Swift Mud and DOT do what they have to do, is it going to eliminate us from having to come back and do something else?
Right. Well, the city is a little ahead of us. Our study right now, this contract, is going to look at what improvements can be made on our site within our existing right-of-way. The city and Swift Mud are looking for off-site corrections. Like, for example, the drainage ditch that runs north and south is on Parks right-of-way, while the drainage ditch that runs east and west is on the city right-of-way. So it has to be a combination of efforts, but it's not a duplication of effort.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick question. I assume that there will be an engineer's estimate on the different options
Absolutely.
resulting from the study.
And prioritization to what we can do immediately and what the long-term fixes are that are needed.
Okay. Right. Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to move this?
So moved. Second.
Second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Okay. The ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. Excuse me.
When everybody's done.
Okay. Mr. Roche, I believe did you have some new business that you wanted to
Yeah,
bring? It's not on the agenda, but.
So when we've had FDOT come before us a few times to update us on the Tampa Bay Express project that they've had, and I mentioned several board meetings ago that I would like to consider bringing a resolution forward in support of that project. So I've taken the liberty to draft up I guess you call it a resolution, and I thought it might get the conversation started. Maybe we can look it over, add, use it as a framework, adjust it, add to it, and then if we decide to approve it, advance it to the June board meeting, because the timing is such that the NPO's next board meeting is going to be before our June meeting. I think we really need to try and advance this as quickly as possible. And since we would not be able to present this in time for their June meeting, I would also like to have a request in there that we direct the CEO to send this directly to the board members of the MPO, because, again, they would not be meeting until their June meeting. I think June 22nd is their public hearing where the MPO is putting together their transportation improvement plan. And if this project is not put on that plan, the district director, and I believe even the secretary of the FDOT has said that this $3.5 billion worth of projects will be headed to another community, and it will be 20 years before we see this again. And the reason I believe that HART has a good reason to weigh in is because this project also has the possibility in several areas. One is many of our routes travel in the adjacent arterials that should see significant congestion relief. So it'll help the reliability of some of our service. And especially as far as travel times, we'll see increased travel times, or not increased, improved travel times, especially for our routes of regional significance, such as the route that goes over the Howard Franklin Bridge, because the Tampa Bay Express actually does go over the bridge and into Pinellas. And then I see another opportunity for expanding the bus rapid transit in that corridor. At least it's an option. This isn't necessarily to say that we would be agreeing to that, but by having our buses go toll-free through those managed lanes, that serves as a dedicated busway, so to speak, where because of the management of these tolls, we would expect the speed not to go below 45 miles per hour, which I think is incredible if you know what happens during rush hour on that. So it would give us some certainty, and it would be a really good way to provide some good service to our residents in the community. And like I said, if we don't do this, we risk losing a really good opportunity for our region. So I have copies of this, and I would like to pass them out, and maybe we could just take a few minutes to go through it. If you don't mind, Chairman, I'll go ahead and take the liberty of reading it so that the members of the audience can hear.
Please, if you could just make sure you speak up.
Okay.
The people in the back can hear as well.
Okay. This is a resolution authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to send electronically to the board members of the Hillsborough Metropolitan Planning Organization a letter of support for the Tampa Bay Express project along with a copy of this resolution. Whereas the Tampa Bay Express project proposed by the Florida Department of Transportation will provide much-needed congestion relief to the interstate highway and nearby arterial roads, which would enhance performance of HART's current fleet of buses and vans. And whereas congestion relief from the Tampa Bay Express project will enhance travel times across the region, especially for existing transit service along the interstate over the Howard Franklin Bridge, which connects Hillsborough and Pinellas counties. And whereas TBX expands future options for bus rapid transit in the corridor by providing transit buses toll-free access to managed lanes which serve as a dedicated right-of-way void of congestion. And whereas if the MPO does not vote for the TBX project in June, then the $3.5 billion FDOT plan to invest in the Tampa Bay area would likely be diverted to communities outside the Tampa Bay region. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of HART that the HART unequivocally endorses the Tampa Bay Express project as a means to provide long-term traffic flow improvements to the region, which enhances HART's mission to provide safe, innovative, and cost-effective public transportation services that enhance the quality of life in the region. The board urges the MPO to include TBX in their upcoming transportation improvement plan.
Karen, thank you for putting
That
this
would be
together.
my motion that we adopt the
Okay.
resolution.
All right, are there any questions or comments?
Second motion.
Okay.
I do. I have some comments to it.
I do as well. I'll wait till.
Okay, so I have a problem with the second whereas because I don't believe that this project will give us congestion relief. We don't know that. FDOT is telling us that, but I go down to Miami and I drive on I-95 and I use that express lane, but it has not improved the congestion problem on I-95 for those who choose not to use the express lane. In fact, in my opinion, their congestion is worse there. So just because FDOT says it is so, I don't believe that it is. And I'm not sure I understand the issues that this brings to HART and potential, but my understanding is that we don't even know what the final design of this is at this point in time. We don't know where the exits are. There's proposed, but FDOT is holding that close as my understanding is of it. Maybe it's progressed forward. But until we know that, I don't know how we can support it. I mean, I don't know where the exits will be. Will that support our lines? Will it support where our buses need to get on and off to make it a better route for what we're trying to do to service? So that's an issue I have with that. I have an issue with the fourth one as well, just from a personal standpoint. The mere fact that FDOT says they're going to take their $3.5 billion and run away and go somewhere else unless we do what they want, I got to tell you, that's legalized extortion, in my opinion, to this community with our tax dollars. And I have an issue with that, and why this community isn't standing up and yelling with the tops of their voices out is beyond me. So by doing this until we find what the final result is in terms, especially of the design, because this is a design-build project, which is really scary because that leaves the design builder with a lot of decisions on where this thing is going to go, how the design will be finally, in terms especially the exiting, where the exits are for downtown, where it is on and off the bridge. I think that we're jumping the gun a little bit on this. I would like to see something that moves forward a little better and a little more detail of the design of this, for us to make sure it truly does support what we're trying to do here. And those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Ms. Shanahan?
Yeah. So, I appreciate all those thoughts. But I do think we should take a stand on the $3.5 billion. I mean, it is extorted. All that stuff is true, but you don't want the money to go away. Because we need transportation. And so, my point, you could change a little bit of the language here. Like the only thing that I wrote down on, like I would add a point of sensitivity to public neighborhood impact. So we can add something that adds that they do this plan. I mean, we're not going to, we're never going to be in charge of the plan. DOT and the engineering officials, hopefully at HART and other places, are in charge of the plan. But I think we should add something about a sensitivity to public neighborhood impact. And so I reread the last one. Instead of saying if the MPO does not vote, I'm a big believer in trying to go out a positive way. So whereas we encourage the MPO to vote for the TBX project in June so that the $3.5 billion FDOT planned investment in Tampa Bay, succeeds and, continues to help us with our transportation, our necessary or needed transportation relief. Because we do need it. I mean, at the end of the day, we need DOT money, we need federal money, and we need local money. And so to turn away anything, I think, or not be voicing some sort of support and saying that we want to be part of the, whatever's the traditional role of HART in terms of participating in these on the official side. Like, I don't know if you guys are on, if there's a team. I mean, I think, I always look at it this way. Tampa Bay matters to anybody that's going to run or be active in any statewide capacity in the state of Florida. That doesn't mean Tampa Bay gets to direct everything because FDOT has to do it their way. It's their money. But they do it in conjunction with the state and local folks. And sometimes they do it better that way, and sometimes they do that better, and sometimes they don't. That's all personality-driven, whoever's at the table. That's just the nature of the beast. But I do think this is a great idea, Karen, and I think it's that we should do something positive about, urging the MPO to be supportive of this, to work with FDOT to get the $3.5 billion investment in Tampa Bay, and it helps us with the BRT. I agree with you on the I-95, but just imagine if they hadn't done the rapid transit down there in Miami-Dade, there would be gridlock like 12 hours a day versus just, those things do work in non-rush hour times. I go down to Miami-Dade way too much, so I agree with you. But I think there's a way to turn this around with a couple of other sort of just being more positive, and then add something about, as you make your plan, be sensitive to public neighborhood impact. That's what would be my comments.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
Yes, Karen, I want to say thank you for presenting us with this resolution. I do understand that there are some difficulties, but as we look at the growth of this area, we're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
Now, we may not have a perfect plan, but we don't do anything, and the congestion is going to continue. No road will eliminate all the congestion that we have. But if we can improve this, utilize it to help the general public in the region as well as for HART to move through, I think that we need to consider and support the effort. I do understand there's a lot of opposition, but I think as an agency, we have to look at the long-range effect. In the long-range effect, we have to do something to eliminate or to control some of the congestion that's going to happen. So I would certainly suggest that we do support this resolution.
Any other comments?
Yeah, may I respond? Yeah, I appreciate all the comments here, and I really believe that your suggestions are have great merit. And so I like the fact that you would say that we encourage the MPO to vote, or text someone for that, as you had mentioned it. And then there is I modeled this a little bit after the Port Authority just recently passed a resolution, and they do have a clause that does go towards the sensitivity of the community. So perhaps if we do approve this framework, that we could add that statement that does, I think, what you mentioned. And I struggled with putting that in or not, but so now you convinced me that that's the way to go. So I too have been in Miami, and I maybe not as frequently as you all have, but I have ridden on it, and I have seen the benefits to the community. And if it is not done, I guarantee you the congestion is only going to get worse in this community, especially when you have 600,000 folks going to be moving in the community. And I don't think they're all going to be downtown necessarily. A lot of them are going to be, in the New Tampa area. Some, the West Shore's booming. So there will be a lot of heavy travel through that corridor if we do not address it. I think, the city and the county could suffer economically.
Thank you. I have a couple comments unless anybody upstairs. Well, thank you everyone for the comments. I think a couple things. And Karen, I do like the way that you related this back to our mission. I think that that's critically important because it is relevant to our mission. And I just want to commend you for that. I do think that the modifications Ms. Shanahan suggested are good. And I would add that there's a process, and I think that not only it would be good for us to articulate that sensitivity to the impacts of the community, but just a quick reminder that the process that the DOT has to go through, there's time. There is time, to address, and I know that there's some serious, stakeholder issues that need to be addressed, but there's time to address those and work those out. And a lot of times the details are really what matter. There might be a problem or some seemingly, a situation that's of great concern to someone, but with time, the stakeholders can work that out. So just a couple quick notes. And Mr. Jacobs, I just definitely appreciate your comments on that. We enjoy a lot of unanimity on the board and even on this committee even today. But I think a spirited debate on this issue, I think, is called for. I think, for us to be transit leaders in this community, and we are the leaders in transit, I believe this is very appropriate to ring in on. And I want to thank everyone for their comments. Just a quick note on logistics, because, Karen, I wanted to ask you, so timing-wise, what you're asking then is for this to be perhaps revised and then advanced to the board for discussion in advance of the board meeting?
Yeah, and I would feel confident with staff to go ahead and incorporate some of the changes, such as the positive note on the NPO and the statement of concern of the sensitivity to the community. But I would like to see it, on the June board agenda as an action item where the whole board can consider it and either pass it or not.
And that date is, can we confirm?
June 6th.
June 6th. Because so if we...
What is the MPO?
What's the MPO meeting?
Well,
June 2nd.
Well, and I believe they're going to vote on TVX on June 22nd.
Yes, the final vote, but for us to present the letter in time for the board
for them to have an effective discussion.
Because I think the full board definitely needs to weigh in on this.
I think effectiveness is the key in timing, so I support, every effort to advance this in front of, the folks that need to see it in time.
May I ask a question? Is there a way, can we get it to the board before the board meeting for the board to respond back? Is that an option?
It would be in the, I was going to say it would be certainly a week's advance. If it was in the agenda, it would be circulated.
And we could also transmit it next week as a standalone item.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Is it something we
Because
can...
the packet will come out Memorial Day week. So we can get the edits out late this week, early next week, and specifically direct attention to it.
Can't you do a voice vote? Can't you do
Can we do a vote via communication, or what's the rules on that? So, I think what
We used to do it.
Mr. Rush is saying that we want to get this in
When I
for
was
the
on the State Board of
NPO, right,
Education.
for their meeting on the 2nd?
Well, no, not on the second. That's why I was saying rather than send this to the MPO board, which we would, I see what you're saying. You're saying to vote on it before. I'm comfortable.
Is it critical, I guess my question is it critical for us to present this position to the MPO when they're having their discussion on the 2nd, even though they don't formally vote until the 22nd? Is that?
I don't see the necessity
that's
to
where I
go
was-
through,
okay.
appreciate that. But I think the main thing is just so that the board members are aware of HART's position, and it doesn't have to be at their June 2nd. So
there would be,
after the 6th would be fine.
yeah, I would imagine that if we discussed it on the 2nd, or on the 6th, excuse me, that it would be available, to them in a variety of forms.
Oh, yeah.
In addition to formal communication, but before the 22nd vote.
Yeah, but the 6th, having it on the 6th is, and having
Is
the vote
okay
is-
with you,
Yeah.
with the intent of what you want to do, okay.
There's
Mr.
going to
Bond?
be a lot of discussion on the second. And I think it would help if we could get something to the MPO board members prior to that meeting, because a lot of pressure is going to be on. I know we're going to vote later, but a lot of decisions going to be made, and any support that we can have prior at that meeting is going to really help to move forward. So I don't see how we can, but if there's any way that we could get this approved and to the MPO board members prior to that.
Have people approve it. I agree.
Yeah.
You just send it around with the email, and they can send it back and approve it on email. I mean, I'm not the lawyer, but
Well,
I'll speak as one.
Stayed at a holiday.
I did that at many times. We did that lots of times at the State Board of Education.
I know of nothing short of a special meeting, which I'm not sure you want to go to that measure in order for this board to officially act. I think you can probably get a sense of the board if you want to by sending your resolution around. That sounds to me like we have a resolution as modified as the motion on the floor.
Yeah.
You can send that around and ask people if they have any comment or other suggested changes, so those can be circulated as well. And I think that input would probably provide some sense of what the consensus of this board is, and you have a member who is going to be at the MPO meeting. I think you'd probably like to have some support, is what he said. But that might be the best we can do. I don't know of any telephonic meeting process for this board. I can look back through the policies, but I don't remember seeing anything like that. So it's a special meeting, which would be noticed, et cetera, would be the only vehicle for official action. You will have a lot of people here on the 6th, though. As you well know, this is a very politicized issue in this community. So some people would take the position at the 2nd that they're going to convince this board otherwise, that the consensus seems to be favorable. But that's about all I think you can do at this point.
Thank you, Dave. So if we because I think even if we disseminated material, a modified resolution electronically, we still need to have the opportunity to discuss it and to hear the concerns of other board members before we communicated any type of board position.
Well, that's a good point. Due to the sunshine laws, I don't think we can post our comments via email for the rest of the board to see.
Send it into either general counsel or the CEO, and we'll circulate other suggested language to the extent there is that. But your communications to us is a public record also.
Right.
So if anybody wants to receive that, they can certainly receive that.
You could also circulate it as a draft, and it basically is a sense of the board. That would be helpful.
Well, I was just, if I could, would that
would be very helpful.
help what
Yeah.
you were trying to?
Yeah.
And I don't envy your position.
And I would also indicate that any member of the board is free to attend that meeting until the board has taken official action. However, you may indicate you're on the board, but this is your opinion, which you're free to articulate as you see fit.
Well, I would encourage if that is acceptable.
It's appropriate as long as you don't speak as though you're speaking for the board,
Right.
which currently you're not.
Right. I think that it's going to be a hot topic, but I would be inclined to go and speak as an individual on the topic because it's so important for us as a community. And I would just encourage anybody else who can. I know we all have our lives, but it's just something to consider, and I'll have to check my schedule, I don't know. So, pending a conflict, I think I would plan on being there, so.
Thursday night.
Do I need to amend my motion then to say, subject to the revisions that we discussed? You had a nice term for that. I don't remember what it is now.
I don't either.
Subject to revision, I think you said. So we would here in the committee approve the motion subject to the revision?
I consider your primary motion to be to forward this to the board for action.
Yes.
You would recommend that they take action somewhat like this, modified by Ms. Shanahan's comments, and we will open that up to any other suggestions from board. So, but I think the primary motion is to forward it to the board for action.
Okay.
And this
so it's good as it is.
I think so.
Okay, and I think we all understand the intent.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So just kind of, again, I want to look at this from a public perceptions side. If we, let's say, for example, I were to go speak at the NPO board, when others were to go speak, the public is going to get a flavor for individual board members' opinions, and then that's going to be floating out there until we meet on the 6th and come back and have, if there's some unified board decision.
You will likely hear about it on the 6th as well.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for, any other questions or comments? Okay. Well, with that,
We have to have a vote.
yeah, I was going to move. It's okay. I was going to move to, or not move. Do I have a motion to advance?
I think it was first and second.
Was it? Okay, I apologize. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right. Thank you all. And now?
Thank you.
Yes.
One final point for the committee. Last week, the county commission voted to hold another public hearing to discuss the house and transportation surtax. I believe that has been set for June 9th. We have been contacted by county staff asking us what our vision looks like with a 15-year financing window as opposed to part of a 30-year window. The public hearing is 3 days after our next board meeting. So staff will provide you an update. Unfortunately, we're in a constrained window. We don't have the opportunity to do a public hearing and go through all the comment we would. So we're going to adhere as closely as we can to the vision plan, but being prudent with taxpayer investments. For instance, the vision plan calls for a metro rapid corridor going up in year 8. This is a project which would have a 20-year life if we receive federal funding for it. So we may recommend just doing PD&E and postponing or working in a more holistic corridor study. So we are not making a commitment that we can pay for 7 years, and then the agency has to figure out what to do for the next 13 years. But to the extent the project can be done within the 15-year window or be funded through the 15-year window, we will keep them. We'll keep you posted on what that looks like. I don't imagine it being very different. There might be more private participation of contracting options. But unless we know there's a durable financing window, we don't keep the service in-house and then trigger that the agency has bought the buses and the agency is on the hook to keep them. Again, we'll keep you posted what that looks like and have some level of update for the June 6th meeting. And this would roll into the hearing, and as more information is made available to us, we will share it with you. We've only heard verbally that the public hearing is set for the 9th, so at this point I have nothing more to share with you. But the nothing I know is what we'll share.
June is going to be hot. Yes.
Transportation. Yes, yes. And because of this public hearing, we had originally set a tentative date for our transportation event the board had asked for in January. We had originally set it for a dump the pump date on June 16th. Given that we anticipate some shift in what's going on in transportation, depending on what happens the 9th, we're looking at July. My goal is to get this done this year, but we don't want to pull together an event and then have to change it. We also don't want an event that's out there which is really focusing on what HART is doing, not just service on the road, but technology and how we're making an impact in our community. And we don't want the loss of how HART is a facilitator for this regional conversation to be turned into a proxy for should the county be paying for something one way or another. So to the extent that us teeing up a conversation can be perceived as advocacy for a position, we want to stay very far away from that and just stay focused on the nuts and bolts of the transportation we do. So again, we'll be looking at July so we can ensure that there's no perception that we're piggybacking on a public hearing or some other action, priming the pump in one way, shape, or form. We like to stay boring in a good way, and we're going to keep it that way. Exciting but boring.
All right. Thank you. Anything else? of Dempsey.
That flex map's in this, I just found it, so, thank you guys.
Well, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
Finance.
I started looking at that. I looked at that with Terry.